My name is Donna, and I am the executive director and founder of BLOOM365, an organization that works to prevent teen dating abuse before it starts by empowering and activating young people to grow and build healthy relationships. Oftentimes, we're in this conversation about domestic violence, sexual assault, teen dating abuse. People hear the word, it's a cycle. It's intergenerational. It goes from one generation to another in a family. And for me, that's very true. I learned a couple years ago that my great-grandmother was pregnant at the time, and her second husband pushed her down the stairs, and she lost her life, and the baby lost his life.
One of my best friends got into a relationship, and it started out really well, and he was pretty nice in the beginning, but he started kind of showing some red flags. Like, he would tell her not to wear certain things, who to hang out with, and a couple months into it, he wanted her to stop cheerleading and said that she looked like a slut in her uniform and that people shouldn't see her in such revealing clothes.
As a little girl, I stopped crying at about the age of 4 or 5 when I would see my dad jack my mom up against the wall. I stopped crying because it became normal. At the age of 15, when I found my first boyfriend and he found me and we were together and everything was wonderful and perfect the first 6 months, but that first sign of abuse, I didn't recognize as abuse.
My friend was in an abusive relationship with her boyfriend. And so what would happen is that at lunch, they would sit together, but alone. She wasn't allowed to talk to any of her friends or her boyfriend's friends. Every time she would talk to another guy or even like jokingly have a crush on a celebrity, he would use it against her and blackmail her and guilt trip her.
I didn't know that him putting me down or humiliating me or telling me that I was worthless were those early signs of a controlling and abusive relationship. And it took me 5 years later getting my head slammed on the floor to recognize that this was the path that I had watched all my life, and I didn't want that to be my future. And so I ended the relationship, but had no idea that everything that I witnessed as a child and everything I experienced as a teen had a name, had a root cause, and had a solution.
Hi, I'm Maria, and I'm an outreach advocacy intern with BLOOM365. I joined Bloom once I met someone who was on staff with Bloom already, and I saw the awesome work that he was doing and that everyone else in the organization was doing, and I saw the difference that was happening in the community and the great passion that everyone was bringing to making change with our youth and helping them to develop healthy relationships. So I jumped on, and I've been loving every second since.
Being a volunteer with BLOOM365, and one word, is amazing. It's awesome to actually teach these preteens and teens what healthy relationships are. It involves kindness, self-awareness, and being empathetic. And I would say with teens now, they don't really see that because everything is social media, and they don't really get that interpersonal relationships.
I used to work with strictly with adults in dealing with domestic violence, and I started to see like a really big gap where teens weren't being addressed. I was in a shelter environment where families would come in and their teens were exhibiting a lot of the same behaviors as like a perpetrator would, or also feeling as though they may have been victimized as well. And so I wanted to kind of change focus for myself and start looking at teens, and that's what brought me to Bloom.
We're focusing on teen dating violence and on bullying, but those are just the symptoms. In my opinion, those are just the symptoms of these greater societal issues that we're facing, and Bloom's really working to address those. So we work with the root causes, we're looking at oppression, we're looking at taught abusive behavior, and other things that sometimes don't get addressed, but are truly the root core.
We're able to work with them and actually show them like what some of those red flags are so that they aren't part of that statistic. We're able to provide them education on like how to have better self-esteem, how to empathize more with others, how to manage conflict with good conflict resolution, and on top of that, even how to help a friend who may be in an unhealthy or violent relationship.
It's no longer my story that drives this organization or my personal connection to these issues that drives it. It's the stories of the over 5,000 teens a year that we reach who've experienced similar or worse in their lives that keep this going and give us the hope that it's those same teens and those same young people that have the potential to stop it. What we do is we help young people recognize there's a bigger, better, more blooming, healthy, loving world out there for them, but they have to create it.